Welcome to the Tarot Tapestry, a weaving of self-discovery, where three tarot mavens put their heads and hearts together to offer their wisdom and insights about the tarot. We hope that you find this helpful in your personal journey to self-discovery and growth.
Join us as we explore ways to use tarot for self-reflection and self-correction.
Together, we'll discover new ways to use tarot to weave threads of understanding into the tapestry of your life.
Hi, everyone. On this episode of Tarot Tapestry, a weaving of self-discovery with the Tarot Trio, we are honoring cycles and releasing old patterns. If you were with us last week, we did a spread, and one of the cards was about a topic or a situation that we're ready to change or release. And this time of year, there's a lot of talk in this realm, I guess, of tarot and witchcraft and all of that, of letting go what no longer serves us. And that is great. And that is an important step when we're healing. But we also always want to be sure that we're not telling ourselves we're releasing something that we're done with. And actually what we're doing is sort of like avoiding it or pretending that the problem doesn't exist. And also I just couldn't do just a normal everyday, let's shed our leaves tarot reading. I couldn't be simple about it. So I have some journal prompts for us to go through, and then a spread for honoring cycles and releasing old patterns. And we'll start at the root of the problem and work our way up. And along the way, we'll sort of diagnose what it is. And is it really something that we're done with? We'll figure out how ready we are to let it go. And then we will plan some next steps, maybe for real life action you can take to help move yourself along.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So I was thinking about the topic, right? So today, the day that we're actually recording is the 22nd, which is the fall equinox.
Yes.
And it's the beginning of Libra season, right? And Libra season starts fall and autumn. And I was thinking about the tarot card associated with Libra is justice. And I really liked justice with what we're talking about now, about releasing things that, no longer serve us in a healthy way. And I have I am using the Good Fortune Tarot, and I'm just going to hold up the card. And I really love this Justice card. So she has a sword in one hand, facing downward, right? The blade is facing down, and she's holding scales in the other hand. And this card made me think about how we tend to have judgments, right? So part of Libra, um, Libra is a time where it is now starting to get darker earlier. So the light is now becoming less and the dark is becoming more. And in ancient times, or times where agriculture a big was a big thing. You had farmers and people, and they still do now, but it was much more prevalent back then. It was harvest time, right? So you had Virgo season, that was sort of like your pre-harvest time where you're, deciding like what we're going to do, how we're going to do this. But now this is the actual harvest time where you're now cutting everything down, right? You have cut everything now, and now you're kind of deciding, well, what is good for me to sell and what is maybe not so good, and I have to kind of set to the side. So there's this kind of theme about judgment. And I loved the Justice card for that because the scales remind me of judgment, how we judge what we think is good, fair, not fair. And then the sword as more of discernment, right? Our ability to judge well, right? Our ability to make choices that are aligned with our goals and our aspirations of our higher self. And if you think about these topics in our life that we need to kind of release and let go, and something new to grow in, that's very much what we're doing. Like, we're judging topics in our life, right? We're judging things that are going on and making and having discernment in what it is that we choose to say, okay, I don't think this is working for me now, right? The scales are kind of unbalanced right now, and I'm gonna have to take some off of this scale that's weighing down in order to balance myself out. And that requires a lot of discernment, right? It's the choices that we make. And if we're going to do something effectively, we have to make sure that this is what we really want to do, like you were saying. Am I really doing this because I need to do it? Am I kidding myself about something? Am I making up excuses for why I can't do something? So we really need to take time to really think about, is this topic, is this area of my life that I want to work on right now really something that I want to work on? Do I really need this to happen? Why is it that I need to do it? It just takes a lot of reflection, which is beautiful because that's this whole, new season coming up, right? Like
Yeah.
darkness is sort of is a time for reflection. So it gives us an opportunity to begin now. What is it that I want to maybe change or release? And I might start the process now, but it's something that could take several months to do, or it could take a month to do. That depends on, I guess, the topic and just your confidence or your how you view it as, okay, yes, this is exactly what I want to do, and I'm going to get started, doing it. So I really love how you broke it down, between our last episode and now this episode. And it really does give people an opportunity to really, really think about what it is that we want to work on and
Well, and with
release
you
or
talking
let
about
go.
judgment and discernment, intention is so important in
Mhm.
what we do. And it's important that we get clear on our own intentions, because sometimes, especially when it's something difficult, we can be a little reluctant to look at the way things are. We can, be a little bit avoidant and just sort of want to avoid just, I don't know about anybody. I mean, other people, not me ever, maybe you're just sort of, I'm just going to sit here. And if I don't do any, then it'll, the decision will make itself eventually. Find some sort of issue that you are just so tired of, something that's happened more than once and you're just sort of over it. And then we're going to have some journal prompts, the card to represent a situation. So this is the situation that I will be doing the reading on today. And the card picked is the devil in the Good Fortune, not in the Good Fortune Tarot, I'm sorry, in the Light Seers Tarot by Chris Ann. And, at first glance, this guy he looks like he is here to help, reaching out his hand to you. And he's just sort of this bare-chested fellow who just wants to help. But you look at his hand and he's got these strings hanging down from it. And attached to those strings is this gray figure. They've got their head, they seem to be like in a hoodie. They've got their head down in their hands and they look like they're very in distress and very trapped. So the situation, why couldn't I have pulled like the 10 of Pentacles? The situation we will read on is you have too much money, too much success. But no, I pulled the devil. So that's what we're going to read on. So like I said, this guy in the card, at first glance, if you don't look too close, looks like he's just there to help. I showed my friend Beth a picture of this card, and all she said was, "Yep, that's him."
Yes, indeed.
So this would be a situation that started out great. Probably the devil as a situation, like I said, is just something that is just very, very hard to moderate or to walk away from, or to maybe allow yourself to do denying yourself pleasure is also sort of a devil thing. Like that's not good for you either. Suffering on purpose because you think you deserve it, that is very bad for your mental health.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it can be, it's sort of like an extreme either way, too much or not enough, but like in a big way, in a, I
Yeah,
just made
in a
that up.
grander
Yeah.
scale of
Mhm.
things. And I like when you mention like the title, like honoring cycles and releasing old patterns, because that's what it is. It's a cycle. We go through these cycles, things begin, it runs its course, and then it ends. So even with this devil card, looking at it like it's a cycle, right? Your attachments to things, things that are no longer serving you. It's just a cycle. And if we kind of look at it like, okay, I began it, I was living it, and now its purpose is just not effective. It's not healthy. It's not something that I want to continue doing. And I need to release it. And I need to begin another cycle. And it's just, and that's life, right? Life is just all about everything is cycles. It just runs in cycles. Time, well, what we do, our jobs, what we like, what we don't like, and we constantly change, right? We're constantly fluctuating, and there's always a point in your life where you're like, this is just not working for me anymore. It did before, but it's not anymore, and it's time for me to end this cycle and start something new.
Yeah, that's really the first step is identifying what it is, like what's the thing. And sometimes there's a lesson in the thing that keeps happening that you need to learn. Sometimes it's a decision you need to try to learn to make differently the next time it presents itself. Well,
Absolutely.
first let's talk about the journal question. On the YouTube video, there will be cards with the questions written on them that you can pause and spend some time with. For everyone though, the first thing is what's the problem? Just sort of describe it in your own words. Doesn't have to be a big long paragraph. Just like, what's wrong? What do you want to not have happen or participate in anymore? And then I want you to think about how much energy you put into dealing with this issue or avoiding having to deal with this issue. And then also what you would rather be putting your energy into right now. Like, this is no fun. What would you rather be doing instead of dealing with this repeatedly over and over? And I also then want you to take some time and think about what's going to be better once you take care of this, once you take steps, once you figure out what's going on and decide what you're going to do about it, and then do the things about it. How is that going to feel in your body? Like, imagine just not having that pressure and that stress of worrying about this happening or coming up or being discovered or whatever it is that's got you stressing, and you feel like you're
Yeah,
just doing it.
I think that's really important, the visualization of what that outcome is. So if I were to release something or give something up, having some kind of idea of what that might look like and feel like and what kind of change I might see in my life. For me personally, visualizing what something could be if I were to change it was very important for me because it gave me something to visually hold on to and work towards. So the like what you're saying, part of it is knowing and figuring out what it is that I want to change or release. But I think the other important part is, well, what am I releasing it for? Like, what is it that I'm hoping, the outcome is going to be? What might that look like? What is it? How is it that I want to feel about it? Because I think that is really important to know that so that you can sort of work backwards and decide, okay, this is what I want. This is what I envision. Now, these are the steps that I can take to get myself there. So having that vision, I personally feel is pretty important in
Yeah,
the
me
whole
too.
process.
I think, like you said, you have to slow down long enough to notice, oh, wait a minute, it's happening again. And then to be like, okay, usually I do this thing, but this time I'm going to try this thing instead. And just becoming aware of these things a lot of the time can make you go, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. And then you don't do it anymore. And, you know, ta-da, you did it. But,
Yeah.
the better you get at noticing the small ways you do stuff like this, the easier it will be to notice when it's affecting you in your bigger life in more ways, in more areas of your life. And so it's just, this is like a good practice to have, is thinking about what you're thinking about and why you're doing that. And is it what you want? So are we ready to start with the reading, madam?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Go for it, Angie.
All right.
Madam Angie.
Our prompt for the spread is the root. So that is, what is it that keeps you stuck in this repeating pattern? Invasive species need the right conditions to thrive. I'm going to shuffle. I'm going to do another quick shuffle here before I pull the root of the situation. And, oh my goodness, my hands are not doing what I'm telling them to do today. So I pulled the Ace of Swords. All right. As the root, the Ace of Swords to me says, listen, I've got this idea, and it's my idea, and it is the best idea. And it's the best idea that I've ever had, and I cannot change it, and I cannot walk away from it. But it's not working. Like you have it in your mind. This is how you're really attached to the how of something happening with this card and the devil as your situation. I feel a lot of right. Everybody else is wrong. My way.
I like that. I like that very much. But it is like, if you think about, the devil and attachments or patterns, it really is us thinking that we're right for doing what we're doing that's not working for us. That's sort of like, the definition of insanity, right? That you keep doing the same thing, thinking you're going to get a different result. But in essence, we sort of like, it's a swords card, right? So we convince ourselves that I'm doing the right thing. There's nothing wrong with what I'm doing. Everything is going to be fine. It's all going to be fine.
And you're so focused on that you're not seeing the bigger picture around you. So thought that I was trying to grab from the ether is Ace of Swords. It's like you need to become conscious. If you're, I think pulling this with the devil card shows decisions you're making that you're just doing it because that's how you've always done it. And you just don't even know that you're doing it, maybe. And you probably don't understand right now that it's leading to whatever it is that's bothering you.
All right. What is question number 2?
Okay. Question number 2 is about the trunk. So is this problem, is this something that you just have to absolutely hard no, never ever do again? Just cut it down right now, raise it to the ashes, burn it down, kill it with fire. Or is it something that is it a symptom maybe of something that you need to address? So, I mean, I guess that's not a super straightforward question. I guess sort of then kind of like we were talking about discernment. What do you need to look at closer to make a good decision about what to do? Maybe that would be
I like
question.
that. I like that rephrasing. Yeah, I think that's really good.
I haven't pulled my trunk card yet. So I had the root, which is the Ace of Swords with a devil situation, and the Ace of Swords telling me that the root of this situation recurring is that you're just making decisions you're not conscious of right now. You're just not even thinking. You're making choices you don't know you're making. So for the trunk, what do we need to know more about? I got the 10 of Pentacles. Oh, now I pull the 10 of Pentacles. Okay. So, you need to really look around your world, friend. Pick your eyes up from whatever it is you're hyper focusing on at the moment and being like really mad about or attached to, and look around your real world. This card is so beautiful. It shows, these big colorful mandalas everywhere, and there's kids playing and a dog and, a happy couple. And it's just, everybody looks very comfortable, cared for, safe. So maybe and I don't want to sound trite, but it really is very important to build positivity in our own lives in times like this. To, um, I think what you need to know about this problem is that, yes, it is a problem. And that's why you got the devil. That's why the situation is a problem. There's no denying it. But you are making decisions that keep you stuck in the problem when you could be focusing on the privilege that you have in your life. Yeah, that's what you need to know about the problem, is that there are also good things in your life. And sometimes you do have to focus on something that is not a problem, and absolutely acknowledge that the problem is still going to be there when you are a little bit refilled, a little rested, a little more nourished and cared for. That's my opinion on the trunk being the 10 of Pentacles.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea of the positivity, right? Like just thinking about, good things in your life that make you happy and bring you joy. Like I look at that card and I see a lifetime of like just joy and being at peace. And I think part of this, when I look at this spread, it makes me think of like a transformation, right? We want to release something and have something new grow, right? We want to make that change. We want to end a cycle. And the card also made me think about what I spoke about earlier about envisioning what your future would look like relating to this topic if you were to finally release something. Look at that card. I just think about, and I think for me too, like when I was working on, not drinking anymore, I had to envision what that like 10 of
Mm-hmm.
Pentacles would be for
Yeah.
me. And it was sort of like a lifeline. It helped me to keep moving forward. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's get to the last one.
All right. The last, well, it's the second to the last because we have an advice card after
Oh, I'm
this
sorry.
third one. The lead is something you need to know about the situation, something you need to know about the state of this thing, the state of this cycle that you're trying to step out of. Are you ready for my leaf?
Absolutely.
All righty. This is the Nine of Cups.
Oh,
So, so let's see. And as far as a life cycle sort of goes, the Nine of Cups is kind of it's a pretty good card, I would say, after the first two, like saying, okay, in this situation that you can't seem to make any progress on, if you just start to become conscious of the choices that you're making, slate clean and just start over, but in a conscious way.
wow, I really like that, Angie. And it made me think of the more common words associated to describe the card is like wishes, right? Like
Uh-huh.
almost like a wish granted, so to say.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I like that because, like it is like we have a wish, right? Like when we're deciding that we want to let something go and have something new come around, it's like, it's sort of like a wish, like for me,
Mm-hmm.
and say with my drinking, it was like a big wish for me to finally put it behind me, to finally just, I wish that I could do this, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I don't care what anybody says, but sometimes your wishes come true.
Yeah.
I think, we can all have wishes and the majority of them can come true. We just need to
Mm-hmm.
work at having them come true, and I
Well,
think that card, go ahead.
like we have to believe that they can, first of all. Like
Absolutely.
that's a hard one to get your leg over sometimes, is just believing that you are worthy of what you want. So should we pull another card, or should we just give advice for next steps from this reading, or should we pull an advice card?
I think we should pull an advice card.
All right. So yeah, this is just I called it the gardener's advice. So this is just a card, a little extra advice from tarot of how do you get from where you um where you are, like how do we get from the devil to the 9 of Cups? So the advice card that I pulled is the King of Cups.
Oh,
So I
oh,
think you become more conscious of the decisions you're making that you don't understand you're making by really checking in with your emotions, taking the time to go, and it can be private, like the king has his shit together. They're not going to have any messy public meltdowns about anything. Um, just give yourself a minute and think, how do I really feel about this? And even if you get an answer you don't like, you don't freak out about it. You just go, huh, I did not know that was there. And just like that, rather than being focused on doing it how you wanted to do it, now you're curious about why you think what you think and how you feel. And that's a good thing. And with the 10 of and blah, blah, the 10 of Pentacles kind of gets pulled into that whole process because you're going to be more aware of the good things in your life once you start to focus on how you feel and become aware of it and tend to that. The king tends to problems. So if there's a problem, you're gonna fix it. You're gonna look at it. You're gonna figure out what you need to do that's better. And you're gonna be really surprised by how lovely and how quickly that helps to put a little more pep in your step, make you feel just like, oh, okay, not everything is perfect, but I have got this. I have got this. I can do this. So that's what
yeah.
I think.
I really love that, and I was thinking about as advice for the whole process. There's a matter of dealing with the more negative emotions that we might feel as we're going through the process. It can be really frustrating. You can get frustrated, you can get aggravated, you can get to a point where you may feel like, screw this, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not liking it. Like you sort of like sometimes things need to get a little bit worse before they get better,
Yep.
right? And I think with the King of Cups there, it's sort of like this knowing ahead of time that these emotions might arise, and how might I help myself not allow them to overtake, like consume me, and maybe prevent me from moving forward with my
Right.
decision to
It's
change
you have to
something.
become
Of
aware.
Cups is going to, guide that, also guide the Ace of Swords, right? The
Mm-hmm.
more that you can get in touch with how you're feeling, and what that is not making you, but what that is pushing you to say to yourself about things.
Logic is not going to fix this. So you gotta do the King of Cups thing. You have to let yourself feel. That is a scary thing for a
Yeah.
lot of people who are not allowed to be emotional ever or to have feelings. So you don't have to do it in a big loud way if that's what everybody was always afraid of, but you do have to figure out how you feel about stuff.
Yeah, and sometimes when you decide to ignore the emotions, that can keep you very like stagnant and stuck, right? Sometimes just not noticing emotions that you're having can keep you stuck, and once you start to pay attention to it in the best way that you can, then and that's also like a way of you learning about yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Learning about, well, do I always want to go around being angry and pissed off at this thing that's
Oh, yeah.
happening all the time? Pretty much no. I mean, most people don't want to walk around being angry all the time, but how do you stop doing something if you don't know why you're doing it? And I
Yeah.
think that's what the King of Cups says. It's like, hey, you have these and it's vice versa. It's the same thing too for those moments when you're really, really happy, being able to just say, hey, I'm really feeling excited. Like, why am I feeling so excited today? Like, just
Uh-huh.
understanding why you feel the way you do also helps you understand why you take certain actions that you take. And if
Mm-hmm.
you want to change those actions, you have to understand why you're taking those actions.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I keep repeating the same patterns over and over again? Well, maybe I get really frustrated and then I just decide I'm going to give up. It's too hard.
You figure out how you feel and follow your feelings and be brave enough to admit them, all of them, and take absolute responsibility for the way that you feel.
Yeah. And I think
Period.
that's what the King of Cups
Period.
says too, is
Yes.
taking responsibility, because it's very easy to place that responsibility on other things rather
Mm-hmm.
than putting it on ourselves. And that King of Cups definitely says you need to be responsible for how you feel and what you do, and you
Yeah.
need to learn how to balance, to me, it's like balancing your mind and your heart, right? It's balancing
Right.
your thoughts with how you feel and
Mm-hmm.
learning to understand them both and use them in a way that's going to let you be that that King of Cups who's just sitting there in this body of water, and it's like moving,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like calm as anything, because you know what, now I can handle these moments that I maybe once got very flustered about, but I'm now able to handle it and deal with it in a better way. I'm not going to get so frustrated and angry. I've kind of learned how to deal with that and not allow myself to be that way. And that takes a long time. The
Mm-hmm.
devil card is like an arcana, right? It's a major, and it takes
Right.
time, in my opinion, to deal with these changes that we want to make. It's not
Yeah, this is
something
a
like, I think you mentioned
positive.
it before, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time.
Yeah, this is a positive reading, but it also says you're going to have to do a lot of emotional heavy lifting
Yeah.
to find healing and the 10 of Pentacles here. Pentacles are slow, okay, but they're solid and they're stable and they're things you can count on. And they can get depleted, but the good news is they can also be increased with attention and intention.
This whole idea of releasing something and or ending a cycle or ending a pattern, I think the biggest thing is that it
Takes
time and patience, and I think also with that King of Cups, it is also patience. It's just knowing that there's gonna be these waves, there's just that's just how it goes. Like, that's just
sometimes you're going
life.
to have to kick your feet and sometimes you're just going to have to
Yes.
float.
Yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely. And I think,
compassionate discipline again.
yeah, there you go. Like, that's like that should be like the phrase for this season, season three. It's all about
Yeah.
compassion and discipline, compassion and discipline, however we want to say it. But it's true. It's that balance, right? Everything is about balance. And here, if we're talking about Libra and we're talking about the scales, we're talking about being able to balance just things in our life. And in order to balance, you got to give something up and you have to bring something in, and as much as you may not want to, because those things can be uncomfortable, if you really want to change something, you have to dig deep in
You have to change
and
yourself really
yeah,
before you can
and
change anything else around you.
yeah, absolutely.
That's where to start anyway, I believe. And in my lived experience, that's what's worked best for me is when I go, where am I connected inside to this thing outside that I don't like? And what
Yeah,
can I do about it in my own life?
yeah,
And
yeah,
that works.
absolutely. Wow, we went really deep with this one, Angie.
We did. I
Really,
think that's,
really deep.
you know,
But that's just how we are. We're just those
yeah,
kind of people, We
we
don't
don't do
we
small
don't just
talk
do
well.
superficial stuff. We go
No.
deep. We don't do surface level. We go deep.
Well,
We
why
go deep.
bother if you're just gonna bounce along the top? Like I said,
There
dig
you
one
go.
deep well, not a thousand little scoops with your toy, bucket and shovel.
We will help you dig that deep that deep
Yes.
well, right? Will guide you and show
We'll
you
help
and
you
give you
figure out where to
tools.
dig
Yes.
first. We'll help you
Yes.
figure out where to dig first. Where do
Yes.
you want to
Absolutely.
figure something out? So, okay, that is actually a good idea. Season 3 can be just about compassionate discipline as
I
like
love
the
it.
sort of, I love it too. All
A
right.
bigger
So,
theme. Yes. Beautiful.
yeah. Okay, everybody. Thanks for listening. And don't forget, if you want to sit down and really get deep with these journal prompts and this spread, sit down with the YouTube video. And they'll be right there on the
Yes.
screen for you. You can light a candle and get a snack and just have a nice cozy afternoon with tarot.
There you go. See you later, guys.
Bye.